What's up everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got Mark Hunt versus the UFC in court, Tony Ferguson talking about a potential fight in the works, Cody making a call out, and much more. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel to see more videos just like this. Now let's get into it. Tony Ferguson accuses Michael Chandler of stalling a potential fight. Chandler whips back a response. It looks like the UFC is working on putting together a top-tier lightweight matchup for spring or early summer, with Tony Ferguson against Michael Chandler. But according to El Cucuy, Chandler is delaying the whole thing. The former interim UFC lightweight champion tweeted out some trash talk to Chandler, who had been answering fan questions about fighting Conor McGregor. Ferguson let it be known that this fight was not only in the works, but that Chandler is the one stalling here. There's my Michael Chandler, the brass, Dana White UFC relayed your message, saying you would be ready for me April/June. Looks like you're trying to delay that whooping. I owe you for cutting in the line, kid. It's wrestling season, motherfucker. Man up, champ. Well, it didn't take long for Chandler to respond, as he tweeted this out to El Cucuy. Oh, Tony, there's only a handful of guys in this game I truly respect. You're one of them, only because of your tenure, not your stature or your current presence in the division. I'll beat you from bell to bell. Pray for a merciful ref. We shall see if this fight happens. Pray for a merciful ref. Chandler's got some ominous verbiage here. Chandler's a 3-time Bellator lightweight champ, and about 6 months ago fought for the UFC lightweight title, but lost to current champ Charles Oliveira in the second. Ferguson, a former interim champ himself, is looking to get back to his winning ways after losing 3 fights in a row to top-tier lightweight contenders, but before that, he had gone on a 12-fight winning streak. What do you think about the back and forth between these two, and are you excited to see this fight if it gets booked? And what's your prediction for this bout? Dana White blasts Jake Paul, and his scumbag advisor continues to issue his testing challenge. Jake Paul is now coming out with a list of demands for the UFC, but the promotion's president, Dana White, isn't biting and is continuing to dog Paul on social media. Over the past weekend, Jake Paul came out with his list of demands for White, saying he would agree to enter the UFC's drug testing program under USADA, which would mean he would be tested randomly for performance-enhancing drugs, ahead of a potential one-off fight against Jorge Masvidal, if it is ever booked. Paul said he would do this in exchange to not only let Masvidal fight him in boxing, but also to increase the amount of revenue share for fighters and to boost their minimum payout. Well, White is scoffing at the offer and took to social media over the weekend through an IG video to badmouth Jake Paul, continue repeating his offer, and criticize his advisor, Nakisa Bidarian, a former UFC CFO. This is part of what White had to say.
I believe that you're a cheater, and I believe that you use steroids. So I want to randomly steroid test you for the next 2 years. And that thing that you came out with today, nobody on earth thinks that you really wrote that. You're too stupid. And for those of you that don't know, if you've ever watched one of his fights and you see when they do the stare down, the guy that's standing in the middle with the warlock nose and the big warlock wart on his face, apparently that's his manager. And that guy used to be an accountant for me. And let's just say this, he no longer works for me, and I think he's a scumbag.
Paul hasn't yet responded to what White said in this video, but what do you think about Dana White's insistence on Paul responding to his challenge?
I don't do steroids, and I take it as a compliment because there's no other excuse to me knocking out all of your champions than this kid does steroids. Look at me. Look at that. A fat. If you steroid test me, then I want to steroid test every one of your fighters. Ooh, you want to do it though, will you?
I use cocaine.
And you say Masvidal is a pay-per-view superstar. Let's go to his last Instagram post. 5,000 likes or 10,000 likes or some shit. Do you realize that my mom, Pam, gets more likes than your pay-per-view superstars? Men lie, women lie, Dana White lies, numbers don't. Do you want to talk shit about my manager who is the CFO of your company that helped you sell it to Endeavor, $4 billion? Just a jealous, ugly fuck. You don't know what true happiness is. You're the definition of a fucking unhappy billionaire who thought that money was gonna make their lives better. I feel bad for you.
I use cocaine.
U.S. District Court orders Mark Hunt to pay UFC $389,000 in legal fees. Mark Hunt has been in a legal battle with the UFC ever since UFC 2000, when he fought Brock Lesnar, and Hunt contends that the UFC knowingly put him in a fight against a fighter, in this case Lesnar, whom they knew was taking PEDs. The case was dismissed in 2019, but then was reopened in September 2021, just a few months ago, by the appeals court in Nevada, looking into the case on fraud and battery. At the time, this is what Hunt stated about the appeals court looking into the matter. "This was never about money, and it never will be. If it was, I would have made different decisions leading to this point. This was about a fair and even playing field for all fighters. Dana White, Lorenzo Fertitta, Frank Fertitta at UFC never ever gave me and many other fighters an even playing field to compete. The battle is back on, and at least some justice has been served. UFC fighters are still fighting for peanuts. 16% shared is nothing considering you are putting your life in the hands of another when you enter the octagon. A UFC belt should hold prestige, but it's worthless when fighters are cheating, and it takes away the integrity of the sport." What do you think, people? I love seeing your thoughts, good or bad. This small victory of having the case reopened was short-lived, as a recent report on combat sports law states that Mark Hunt has now been ordered to pay the UFC nearly $389,000 in legal fees by the U.S. District Court in Nevada. The court made the following judgment. It is therefore ordered that defendant UFC's renewed motion for attorney's fees and costs, ECF number 193, is granted. Defendants are awarded $301,000, $792.50 in attorney's fees and $86,442 in costs, for a total of $388,235.22, and the clerk of the court is directed to enter judgment accordingly. The report on combat sports law stated that the UFC has a clause in Hunt's contract that stated that the promotion can issue, quote, crushing consequences to any fighter if they unsuccessfully sue the promotion. What do you think about this whole situation? Don't forget to take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on the latest fight news. Cody Garbrandt calls out Sean OMalley, saying he really wants to whoop it. It looks like a fight between Cody Garbrandt and Sean OMalley is brewing darker and darker, especially with Cody now officially calling out OMalley, saying he's loving to get his hands on him. The two got into a now infamous war of words at the press conference prior to UFC 269 earlier in December, with an impromptu face-off that happened right there on stage. This was just days before Cody was knocked out by Kai Kara France in the octagon, and OMalley's TKO win over Raulian Paiva all in the same night. Cody and OMalley are both strikers, but Cody, a former champion, hasn't really looked like his former self in his last few fights, and has lost 5 out of his last 6 dating back to 2017, when he was KO'd by a roided up TJ Dillashaw. OMalley, meanwhile, has just been racking up all the wins against unranked or lower ranked opponents, and has finally now entered the top 15 of the bantamweight division. Now, this is what Cody had to say recently on his own YouTube channel.
Sean OMalley, I really want to whoop his ass. That's a fight that's looming. Hopefully that's could possibly be my next one.
Dude, for sure. That would be a big money fight, bro.
Yeah, I want that fight. So I like to say at 35. He might fight me now because I'm not, in the rankings at 35. So, and he's ranked. So that'd be a good fight.
A former champ on the downside of his career against a rising star, both known for banging it out in the center of the octagon. What do you think? Who do you believe has the leg up in this fight? And who do you think walks away with the W? And will it be a knockout? Khamzat Chimaev is the biggest question for 2022 according to Jon Anik. With so much to look forward to in 2022 in the fight world, UFC play-by-play cage-side commentator Jon Anik says he's most excited to see the trajectory of Khamzat Chimaev's career. Khamzat has a lot of hype going into the new year after dismantling Li Jingliang this past October at UFC 267. It was his first fight since a serious bout with COVID-19. Prior to that, Khamzat finished 3 of his previous opponents, 2 of them within 10 days of each other in 2 separate weight classes. He's undefeated in his MMA career with 10 wins, 4 of them in the UFC, all finishes, 2 submission, and 2 by knockout. Right now, he's number 11 in the UFC welterweight rankings, but with this momentum, some of the media have been saying that he could fight for the title in the welterweight division sooner rather than later. Now here comes Jon Anik, who was recently on MMA Fighting's Between the Links podcast and was asked what's his biggest burning question for 2022. He mentioned Khamzat and said this.
So yeah, my burning question is Khamzat Chimaev as elite as he seems to be, as strong and dangerous as he seems to be, and can he work himself into a fight with a guy in Kamaru Usman who's something like 15-0 in the UFC and one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time? So that's sort of at the tip of my tongue right now.
Do you agree with Jon Anik here? Let us know in the comments below. Today's video was packed with some juicy stories from the fight world. What are your thoughts about what's going on in MMA? Don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel to see more videos just like this. See you next time.